We are back, folks, with another discussion point. Now, this is one for all you match anglers out there, but I think just for anglers in general, because as anglers, we'll set ourselves little goals, the things we want to achieve throughout the year, and we set ourselves little goals as well, don't we? So I think we'll talk about our goals for 2024.
Sounds good.
Decide how we're going to achieve those goals, or how we're going to put ourselves in a position to achieve those goals.
Yeah, I like that.
And also talk about competition fishing in general, because there's loads of different competitions out there, isn't there?
Yeah, there sure is. I mean, do you know the first time I ever really did this one, I always used to sort of sit down and go, oh yeah, I hope this year to win a match or framing something or whatever it might be. But I always think, I learned a long time ago, one of the best things to do, one of the best things to start off if you're looking into a new year, is to almost like think, what aren't I very good at? What could I improve for the new year? Right, rather than going, what do I want to win? I was like, what can I improve? And then hopefully that will help me achieve maybe a more bigger goal, like a goal that is bigger. So we've talked before, haven't we? We'd love to win gold in the World Championships. The World Feeder Championships is the biggest match of the year for me and you.
Yeah, that's our focus, isn't it, really?
That is the main focus. It's crazy when we think about it. Bearing in mind it's 5 days of practice and just a 2-day match, and we will start talking about it from the moment we drove home from Serbia last year, even today.
Yeah, 12 months previously.
We're talking about it. We're thinking about the venue,
match,
where we're going to go, what's going to happen. And reality is there's so many variables in what could happen that you can't actually control it. So instead, I might be thinking about what potentially the fishing could be like, things that maybe I would like to make sure I was good at when we go there, and if I've got that sort of focus, then it's going to help me get better. I remember when a very good example I can give for this, Rob, was when I very first joined the feeder team. We were going to Italy and it was skimmer fishing, and I spent the winter, like any free moment I got, I went winter feeder skimmer fishing, just because I wanted to make sure that I knew how to read a bite correctly. What was a bite that was on? What was a bite that was a liner? What was a bite that was, I've fed it wrong? You know, and there was talk about casting being, we've gone to South Africa, casting was going to be really important. We spent that winter concentrating, making sure, well, if it was 90-metre casting, it was easy.
So I think the important thing that we're trying to get across is, it's all right having your goals, but you've got to position yourself in the right place to be able to achieve the goals. So it's all right saying, I want to win Fishermania, but if you don't enter a qualifier, you're never going to win Fishermania.
Yeah.
Also, if you're very raw at commercial fishery work, chances are you're probably not going to win Fishermania. You need to get out there and put yourself in a position where when you do get the chance, when you get a good peg in a qualifier, you can take advantage of it. And then ultimately, if you are lucky enough to get a good peg in the final, you can take advantage of it. So actually going out there and practicing, putting the time and effort in, I think that's more important as a goal than actually pinpointing one particular thing. Would you agree?
I think that's really good, and I think Fishermania is a nice little place because not because we hold it in any sort of different regard, but Fishermania is something that I think a lot of people can relate to here. So let's just give you an example of Fishermania, what you're saying there. The final of Fishermania is held at Westwood Lakes, I believe. Now, Westwood Lakes is majority pole fishing, it's F1 fishing. Last year they caught fishing on the bottom, but the year before they caught fishing shallow and in the edges. So if I thought to myself, I would love to win Fishermania, I would make sure that I was going to Westwood Lakes, I was going to Tunnel Barn Farm, I was going to Partridge, I might be going to Lindome, just to make sure that my shallow fishing, margin fishing, on the deck fishing for F1s was as, not necessarily the best in the world, but as good as I can get. So when I go to Westwood for the final,
if you get your chance, you can take it.
If I get my chance, I can take it.
And I think also, Lee, you can't just say that that's what I'm going to do this year. You might have to have 2, 3, 4, 5 years at that and plan your fishing totally around that style of fishing.
Yes.
And there's enough fishing to do that sort of thing. There's
Yes.
enough matches to go and do that. But you will be ready then. You will be in a fantastic position to be able to take advantage.
Absolutely, and I've seen people qualify for Fishermania on a method feeder, right? They've had a great day on a method feeder at Lindome, I'm just using it as an example, and they've qualified for Fishermania. When you get there, it's all pellet waggler, right? And they don't catch anything because they haven't really gone, oh, actually I need to work on the pellet waggler now. So let's flip that on its head, and let's say you're an angler who enjoys some club matches, and you've got 8 to 10 club matches a year in your club, because that's something that a lot of clubs do tend to have.
Yeah. Variety of venues, but there's going to be a common theme along those venues, I'm saying.
Yeah.
A lot of them will be carp orientated venues, or F1 orientated venues. Some clubs occasionally throw in a bit of a natural venue in there.
Yeah.
But I think you've got to look at your club selection throughout the year. And if you want to win the club league, you say to yourself, 8 out of those 10 matches are, let's say for instance, carp fishing.
Yeah.
I need to get better at carp fishing. I need to find a way of, I want to use the word dominating, because I think that's, you want to power through, don't you? I want to find a way of dominating those carp orientated matches.
Yeah.
And that way, by going out, practicing those methods, immersing yourselves in those sort of methods, by watching other people and, YouTube, magazines, all those sort of things, on that particular style of fishing, you're in a great place to be able to capitalise.
You really are, and you've got last year to call on. I always look upon my last year or two. So you might have fished 10 matches last year, 5 of the matches you came 5th or lower. Was that because you didn't know how to fill the middle period with some skimmers? Because you were just fishing for carp that didn't exist? Was that because you weren't very good in the edge in the last hour? Every time it came to the last hour, everybody else caught in the edge and you didn't. Why were the poorer results poor? And I like to do that a lot, Rob. I like to, venues where I've done well, obviously, I think proudly of them. I look forward to them. I like to try and remember what I've done well. But for me, the ones that always stick in my mind is my poorer matches, like where I've had a match where I thought, do you know what, I made the wrong decision there. And I can give an example. I'm happy to give an example. Last year, I had an amazing period fishing silverfish for commercials. Literally 2 years of great results. And I went to the On the Fly TV final at Meadowlands, and I drew a peg that was shallow, and basically it had been dominated by roach. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to win the match. I'm just going to have a day's roach fishing, try and get in the frame, maybe win a section. That's the best I can do. Do you know what happened on that day? There was no roach fed, and I ended up catching like odd big bream and skimmers, and I weighed just short of 30 pounds, but I fished with completely the wrong baits for those fish, right? I chose completely the wrong baits for those fish. I totally assumed that the peg was going to be in one way, and it wasn't, and I wasn't ready for that other way of fishing.
Which can happen in a final, because a final, you sometimes think of them differently, don't you? You sometimes have a preconceived idea before you get there, which we know, and we talk about it all the time, how you need to be fluid throughout a day, but I think in a final, sometimes you think a little bit differently. It's hard to get out of that mindset.
It really is, and that I did that day. So for me, like, a little goal for me this year will be, not necessarily to win that final or to frame, just to make sure that I'm prepared, because it could be how I fish this year, but it could be more pellety, it could be more corn, it could be feeder. Just make sure I go into that final with an open mind, and I will see that as an improvement on last year.
You know what you're saying there? There's not many winners of big events that it's their first year in the final. It's almost like you have to gain that experience of being in the final, make a couple of mistakes, and then you can go again, and you'll take your chance when you get it.
That's right. Yeah, that's absolutely right.
So now you're in a better position if you get to that final.
Yeah, I'll be better prepared and ready for it.
You're ready for it. I mean, to relate it to you guys out there that are maybe fishing a lot of commercials, the one that I hear so often is, I've had carp waving at me in the margins with their tails for the last hour, and I couldn't catch them. Well, to me, that says I need to go out there and practice, and I need to work it out. If there's fish there waiting for me to catch in the last hour, and potential match-winning fish, I need to work out a way of catching them. And that is something that I hear so many times, from so many different anglers, that they've got fish in their swim, but they just couldn't catch them.
That is a classic, Rob. And also with that is a great example. Some days, remember when we did the underwater margins, right? They came in all day, we couldn't catch them. It's because the water was flat calm that day in the edge. There was no cover and the fish just wouldn't feed. Manage your expectations. That's a great example. So if, let's say you were a club and it was your margin fishing this year, some days you're going to catch 10 in the margin, but some days you might just need 2.
Yeah.
And was it because the wind's blowing out of your corner and actually...
Reading the conditions.
Yeah, read the conditions better. So this is what we're on about New Year goals. Do I want to win the World Championships this year with you in the van? Yes, I do. Absolutely. Is that a goal? 100%. How can we do that? Well, we've spent the last 6 months looking at maybe how we could practice a little bit better, maybe how we could be a little bit, change our mentality on the day slightly, all the little things that we think could help us. And now, over the next 2 or 3 months, we're going to find out some information about the venue. If it's let's say it's carp, we're going to Spain, it could be carp. We will go and do some carp-based feeder fishing.
Working out different rigs, what are the right rods to take, all that sort of thing. That is putting
is the goal. That's the goal.
That's the
so
goal.
The goal isn't winning, the goal is the journey to win. And that for me is what we wanted this sort of to focus on for you guys, because we can't tell you what your goals are, but we can tell you how we believe you should manage that and try to get there.
I think that's exactly right. Now, here's something, you've mentioned it already, Fishermania.
Yeah.
Where do you rank? Because obviously some anglers are chasing different competitions. Some anglers just want to win, we've mentioned it, some anglers just want to win their club league. Some anglers just want to win a match.
Yeah, frame in a match, win a section.
But we've fished a lot of matches, a lot of big matches. We've been fortunate enough to win some big events as well. Where's your sort of ranking system? Because obviously domestically you've got your Riverfest, Feeder Masters, your sort of niche events, silverfish matches. Then you've got your Fishermania, Maven Match this, golden reel, golden rod.
Fish South, Fish North, Fish Midlands.
You've got all these sort of events.
Yeah.
What is the one you think that people want to win? Because I know which one I think the general public want to win.
I think we would be foolish to sit here and say the general public don't focus on Fishermania as the primary event. I think what I love about Fisho is the fact that it's televised by Sky. It's fishing's attempt to glamorise what we do. Half-hour weigh-ins, is it, I believe?
Yeah,
half-hour weigh-ins. No other fishing match does something like that. And that's really funny for us to say, because as we sit here, we both haven't entered a Fishermania qualifier in 5 years because we've been fishing on a World Champs. So if you were to ask me, World Champs or Fishermania, I've already made my decision.
You'd say
haven't
World
I?
Champs, wouldn't you?
It's World Championships, because that's where we hold as the top international competition. So domestically, I believe obviously Fishermania holds a great place, but at the same time, Rob, at the start of every year, I get my calendar, I go World Championships, Barnsley championship matches, and I go Feeder Masters and the Feeder Masters Super League. They are my priorities for 2024, and they have been for the last 5 or 6 years. Where those rank, or where those competitions rank, I think it depends on the individual, doesn't it?
100%. I'll tell you why it does. I can go down the tackle shop, or I can go to a local fishery where I get some bits and bobs sometimes because they've got a shop there, and I'll see a lot of the guys that I used to fish with really regular, and it's almost as if they don't know I've been fishing because I've been fishing feeder only matches. So I have a spell of feeder only matches for maybe 2 months, 3 months. Yeah. And then I'll see some of those guys, oh, where have you been? Because in their commercial fishery world, I've just not. That's the world they're focused on. Yeah. They know the commercial fishery guys. Yeah. They know what they've been doing. They've been watching all the YouTube videos on pellet fishing or pellet waggler fishing or method feeder fishing, but they've not necessarily been seeing what we've been doing. Yeah. They've not seen any of it. No. So they don't know about the Feeder World Championships. No. They don't know about the Super
World
League.
Club Championships.
They don't know about the World Club Championships. So it's really personal to you what you want to achieve. But because I feel that there's so many anglers that are fishing commercial fisheries now, and Fishermanias, and Maven Match this, and your golden rod, they're all on commercial fisheries. I think that's where the focus is for a lot of people.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, the first thing I ever won was the Rockware Angling Club Pears Silver. silver, second place, right?
And to you, that was the world.
Oh
that
my
was
God,
brilliant.
that was like the biggest that was like I might as well have won Fishermania that day, and that is what I truly believe. But I mean, you know, UK Championships.
Yeah.
We talked about. We were having a conversation on the way here about the Drennan Knockout, a competition that at the time was the hand-picked anglers. It was river, canal, lake, big reservoir, pole, feeder. It was everything. So to get to the final, to win that competition, was one of the greatest competitions.
We don't usually do this
for
on
us
these
at the
discussions,
time.
but I've got pictures of me holding the UK Champs Trophy and the Drennan Knockout Trophy.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
could probably overlay it just about now.
Well, you're good at editing, so maybe that's probably what you could do right now.
But do you feel, because obviously we used to fish a lot of wild takers events.
Yeah.
And we mentioned Drennan Knockout and we mentioned UK Champs. Consistency over 4, 5, 6 matches to win those events versus doing well in 1 or 2 matches in a Fishermania or a big money final. Where do you see that? As an angler, do you look at it and think that's a great achievement, or do you think does achievement outweigh the prestige of the event?
I think surely it depends on your time, because if you looked across 5 years, people who qualify regularly for Feeder Masters, Fishermania, those sort of matches, they are people that maybe the peers perceive as the strongest guys. That doesn't mean you win it all the time.
No.
And you know, there's been some amazing anglers win Fishermania, and there's been some anglers that win Fishermania who are good, and they've taken their chance on the day, but they don't get an opportunity to fish 5 days a week. They don't get an opportunity to do that.
There's also been some amazing anglers that have been in the final several times and not won it because they've not had their chance.
Absolutely. There's many incredible anglers, and some of those anglers are held in higher regard than the winners of those competitions. So I think it's like any sport. I think that the majors are there for a reason.
I'd love them to be sort of classified as majors. I remember Simon Fry when, because he's been fortunate enough as well. He's won the
he's a big winner.
Drennan Knockout Cup, and
Maven match
I think he won it after he won the Drennan Knockout Cup either the year after me. I think he won it the year after me or 2 years after me, and we were chatting about it, and he was saying, I see that as like one of match fishing's majors. That is a major.
Yeah.
And he says, and I'd love to win the majors. Like in golf, you get that situation.
I think match fishing has segregated itself a little bit now, because I remember hearing Steve Ring on a podcast talking about feeder majors, and you know, is there commercial fishery majors? Team fishing, I hold Division 1 National, Winter League final. They're the team majors. So fishing, I don't think it's like tennis or darts or something that is, because we're so, what diverse. About carp? The carp angling championship. We're so diverse. So the point is, I think there's some amazing competitions out there. I'd love to see some comments below on this video, sort of, what do you consider as that sort of, you know, top of the tree? What do you really want? What if you could pick something to go for and win? Dream big. What would it be? And also, what are your goals for 2024? So, you know, so if you, whatever your goals for 2024 are, give us those and give us your big dream. Is it Fishermania? Is it match this? Is it just to draw next to Rob and beat him? I mean, obviously, we all dream of that. So, whatever it is, I want to know what those top things are. Comment below and let us know. That is really, really important. Hope you've enjoyed a bit of a discussion today. Do us a favour, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're enjoying this sort of stuff. There's loads of content on there. We're putting the live matches on. That's when you subscribe to the YouTube channel, it's free. If you want to join the membership for those extra videos with all that incredible detail, do so as well. Either way, have a great 2024.